Welcome back to the show. Today I want to share some thoughts with you on the state of apathy. The state of apathy. First, just like, John, what does apathy mean? Well, the textbook definition is really to do something without passion. Or in a term that I understand more than that, it's whatever. Apathy is like whatever. So if you look around me, you see this room, this part of this building here, where it's obviously that somebody has not taken care of the building and or let it go. So that's kind of like the big picture of what I want to share in today's show. I want to start with an article that was written by the Nashua Patch up in New Hampshire some years ago. And they called the article Empathy at Panera Bread. Empathy at Panera Bread. So I want to share that with you to kind of set the scene for what I want to talk to you about here on this episode. A 21-year-old college student named Brandon Cook went to see his grandmother in the hospital. She is dying of cancer. She's craving soup but hates the hospital food. What she really wants is clam chowder from Panera Bread. Brandon loves his grandmother and knows she doesn't have much time to live. Watching her die is very, very hard. He wants to make her happy and knows that doing so will make him happy too. Brandon probably hasn't eaten his grandmother's hospital food, but he can imagine how bad it is. He feels she deserves better and he wants to give it to her. Panera only sells clam chowder on Fridays. Today, the day Brandon's grandma wants clam chowder, isn't Friday. He doesn't want to wait to get grandma what she craves, but he isn't sure how long she has to live. Today is what matters, the article says. Brandon calls up the local Panera and asks for the manager. He explains the situation and the manager listens. The manager is touched by the love Brandon feels for his grandma. She can imagine what it feels like to know you're about to lose someone who means so much to you and you want to make them happy in the time you have left. Though today isn't Friday, the manager decides to go out of her way to make the clam chowder. She tells Brandon when he can come in to pick it up. When Brandon arrives at the Panera in Nashua, New Hampshire, the clam chowder is waiting for him. Along with it, the manager gives him a box of cookies. The manager doesn't know Brandon's grandma and doesn't know if she likes cookies, but she knows how most people feel about cookies. She can imagine that a free and unexpected box of cookies will make Brandon's grandma even happier than the cup of soup that was produced on the wrong day, the clam chowder. Brandon is so thankful to Panera for helping him deliver clam chowder to his dying grandma. Not only did the manager go out of her way to make the soup for only one customer, she also gave him a box of cookies for free. Brandon imagines that it must have been an inconvenience to make a whole batch of soup on a day that they hadn't planned to make that soup. He can also imagine that giving away free cookies isn't commonplace at Panera. He recognizes that the manager understood his situation and felt his pain. She not only wanted to fulfill his wish, but surprise him as well. She must have really cared about him and his grandma. Brandon felt so moved by the kindness of the Panera manager showed him and his family that he wanted to repay this favor. He wanted others to know what had transpired so that they could be as amazed and happy as he was. So Brandon posted this story on social media so that all of his friends could see how, in fact, this manager treated him. It was the best way he knew how to tell the story to as many friends as possible. As it happened, Brandon's mom, Gail Cook, saw his wall post on Facebook. She admired her son's initiative and deep care for his grandma, which was her mother-in-law, and was so impressed by the kindness and generosity of the manager at the local Panera, she imagined that both Panera fans and employees nationwide would be delighted to hear this uplifting story. Gail reposted Brandon's wall post on the Panera Bread's fan page. The story spread like wildfire. Less than 2 weeks later, Brandon's wall post has been liked almost 750,000 times and has received nearly 32,000 comments. An article by the local Nashua patch of clam chowder and comfort food for the soul identifies that this manager as Suzanne Fourier. Adweek recapped the incident and how a fan post on Panera's Facebook page got 500,000 likes and the link made its way to me. When Suzanne was asked why she did it, she said that anyone at Panera would have. She just happened to be the one who answered the phone. This can be read two ways. Number one, Panera encourages empathy for others. Again, Panera encourages empathy for others. And two, working at Panera, one is allowed to preserve and demonstrate one's own innate level of empathy. I believe these two go hand in hand. Suzanne, you see, the manager, doesn't want the glory. The result of empathy is really born into the employees and doesn't require validation. Instead, Suzanne thinks Brandon is the real hero, the grandson. It is his devotion to his grandma that has most affected her. Gail, Brandon's mom, feels the same way, saying that she doesn't believe most people his age would have demonstrated the same affection. When Suzanne was asked why she did it, she said that anyone would do it because that's what she does. Because that's how they are wired as employees. So I'm wondering if you and I have a tendency sometimes to forego opportunities to be empathetic, to be compassionate to people in our lives, whereby maybe they just need a gentle touch. Maybe they just need just a little word of encouragement. Maybe they need somebody to come by and stand alongside them and say, I care. There's a story several years ago I read called the bystander effect, and that's like a term in society that some people use that shares how some people can hear and see things that need to be done and they choose not to do it. Let me kind of share an extremely opposite example of what I shared about Panera Bread. Again, we're talking about the state of apathy today on this episode. Yesterday, I ran into a poem whereby people would really decided that they saw something happen. In fact, in this poem, in this storyline, they saw that this guy was hit by a car and they chose not to do it. They chose not to step out there and help the guy that was on the side of the road in very, very bad shape because they didn't want to get involved. I wonder how many times you have been tempted to help somebody in need, whatever need they have, but didn't want to get involved. You took the easy way out and in fact sometimes went around the long way to avoid being beneficial to those people who need help. There was an article written a long time ago. It was written by a German pastor back in the 30s. His name was Martin. And he wrote this. He said, first, they came for the communist, and I didn't speak up because I wasn't a communist. They came for the Jews, but I didn't speak up because I wasn't a Jew. Then they came for the Catholics, and I didn't speak up because I was a Protestant. Then they came for me, and by that time there was no one left to come speak for me. So really, for you and I, indifference is really a dangerous attitude to have. Indifference, that is, I don't really care about anybody else but me. That apathetic attitude that whatever happens is going to happen. Because you and I understand that you have been enabled, you have been helped, you have been served by people in your life that could have ignored your trouble at the time. Again, that could have ignored your trouble at the time. So I would suggest to you that if you want to, there's an old saying that you reap what you sow, that if you want at some point in your life people to come alongside you and to pick you up and to give you encouragement, to bring you the clam chowder when you're struggling, if you will, shouldn't you and I do the same thing for other people in our lives? And for me, it's really going out of our way. It's going out of your way and my way to look for opportunities to help people. I can remember years and years ago when I was a kid, our neighbor across the street, his house caught on fire. The father of this family, his name is Joe, and that's his real name, by the way. So Joe's house caught on fire, and they had some, I can't remember if it was kittens or puppies, I can't recall, but there were some baby animals in the basement in this smoky house. I can remember running over to the backyard of this house and seeing a fireman there holding his oxygen mask over the face of this little animal, trying to get the animal to breathe. And that image, for some reason, has stuck in my head all these years, because that's really, for me at least, an image of what you and I could be doing for people in our lives, whereby we could be the first responders, if you will, in people's lives. Yeah, I get that you have goals and dreams and you have an agenda, you have paths that you're trying to go through in your life, and you're trying to reach certain levels of whatever you're trying to reach in your own life. But imagine if everybody that you know, and what you and I do, is look for opportunities to literally lift other people up, to bring them, if you will, the clam chowder, to bring them the oxygen mask, to be a tool in their hands that can help them keep going in life, whereby they can really grow from some of the biggest struggles that they've ever had in their life. So apathy can be really debilitating, because if you and I choose not to enable ourselves to reach out and lift up other people, then as you see around me, nothing's going to happen at all. So imagine if you would not have been helped over the years by people in your life, you certainly would not be where you are right now. And then if you look at what's going on around you today, that is the people that you have an opportunity to serve, maybe right in your own family, maybe right in your own neighborhood, maybe the people in your own life that maybe you might think have it all together and they don't have any issues whatsoever. I guarantee you they have issues. You say, John, I don't know about that, because I see people on TV that seem to have it all together. I'm telling you right now, I know a few people on TV, and they have, all of them, all the people, I don't know millions, I don't know hundreds, I don't even know dozens, but I know a few of them that are on TV, and I guarantee you they have struggles. They have challenges. And a large percentage of those people consistently reach out and lift other people up. Now, there's a byproduct of that. There's a side effect, if you will, when you and I choose to do that. Even though that you're going through some of the toughest times in your life. Because when you reach out and lift other people up, the encouraging words that you're giving the people that you're trying to inspire, that you're trying to help, that you're trying to serve are coming right back in your own ears. As you speak these encouraging words to lift other people up, as you bring the, if you will, the clam chowder to the people in your life that desperately are craving this clam chowder, guess what? You're reaping a benefit of that as well. The feeling that you and I get when we lift other people up and serve other people and stand alongside them when they're going through their darkest days. Again, you don't even have to say anything. Just standing alongside them, just sitting alongside them, just letting them know you're there is an incredible aid to these individuals in your life. And you're going to find that as you open up your heart, as you open up your mind, as you open up your compassion and push aside that attitude of apathy, that whatever, so what attitude, I'm going to take care of me first, and if I have time, I'll take care of other people. If you flip that and look for ways to serve other people, to lift other people up, you're going to find that your struggles many times don't seem as big as they were before you started serving other people. I'm not suggesting that what you're going through is less important. I'm not saying that at all. I'm saying that your focus, if you focus more on the needs and the hurts of other people, you're not going to have as much time to worry about your own challenges. And that's worked for a lot of different people. How many people have you met who stand around and do nothing when they have the capacity to do something? I'll be at the gym occasionally. I mean, I go to the gym 5 or 6 days a week, but occasionally I'll notice somebody who's on the bench press that asks a stranger to come over there and spot them. Spot them means that they'll stand over the bar of the weights and just hold their hands just right above the bar as the person on the bench press is trying to lift some weights. Because that in the event they slip or in the event it gets too heavy after their 5th or 10th rep, then the spotter can come by and just help them lift that weight just a little bit. I would suggest to you that you and I maybe can look for ways that we can spot people in our own lives, because there are a lot of people who will never ever ask for a spotter. They'll never ask for somebody to come alongside them and to help them and to kind of look out for them and to just be there just in case. I found in my life that when I reach out many times and ask for help in whatever form that is or whatever shape that looks like, quite a number of people will in fact step up and offer some sort of help. So if you have chosen not to seek not only to receive help, but more importantly to give help, you're missing out on a huge opportunity to make a difference in people's life. Let me share another story with you called The Violinist. A man sat at a metro station in Washington, D.C. and started to play the violin. It was a cold January morning. He played 6 Bach pieces for about 45 minutes. During that time, since it was rush hour, it was circulated that 1,100 people went through the station, and most of them on their way to work. 3 minutes went by, and a middle-aged man noticed there was a musician playing. He slowed his pace and stopped for a few seconds, and then he hurried up to meet his schedule. A minute later, the violinist received his first dollar tip. A woman threw the money in the till and without stopping continued to walk. A few minutes later, someone leaned against a wall to listen to him, but the man looked at his watch and started to walk again. Clearly, he was late for work. The one who paid the most attention was a 3-year-old little boy. His mother tagged along and hurried, but the kid stopped to look at the violinist. The mother pushed hard, and the child continued to walk, turning his head all the time. The action was repeated by several other children. All the parents, without exception, forced them to move on. In the 45 minutes the musician played, only 6 people stopped and stayed just for a while. About 20 gave him money, but continued to walk at their normal pace. He collected about $32. When he finished playing and silence took over, no one noticed it. No one applauded. There was no recognition. No one knew this, but the violinist was Joshua Bell, one of the most talented musicians in the world. He had just played one of the most difficult pieces ever written on a violin worth $3.5 million. 2 days before his playing in the subway, Joshua Bell sold out a theater in Boston where the seats averaged about $100 per seat. This is a real story. Joshua Bell played incognito in the metro station, was organized by the Washington Post as part of an experiment by the Washington Post about perception and taste and the priorities of people. The outlines were, quote, in a commonplace environment at an inappropriate hour, do we perceive beauty? Do we stop to appreciate it? Do we recognize the talent in an unexpected context? So really one of the big takeaways from this, the article says, is if we do not have a moment to stop and listen to one of the best musicians in the world playing the best music ever written, how many other things are we missing? How many other things? How many other opportunities? How many other relationships are we missing? I would suggest to you that both of us, you and I, have a tendency to be so busy doing our thing, going from here to there, that we miss out on opportunities so many times. We get distracted by things that are not important. We get distracted by the urgent, U-R-G-E-N-T. We get distracted by the urgent and not what's so important. I've done it probably hundreds of times. I've been overwhelmed by the urgent and didn't consider the value, think of that word, the value of what's more important. The older I get, I'm really trying to understand the value of what's most important, because what's most important can be gone in a flash. It can be gone so quickly. So to value what's more important, to put a priority on what's going on in your life and not allowing the apathetic attitude to take over, and within a very short amount of time, your life just crumbles around you because you choose not to maintain what you need to maintain in order to keep things beautiful, to keep your life beautiful, to keep relationships tight. I'm telling you right now that apathy can literally destroy everything in your life if you allow it to destroy everything in your life. Thomas Edison said one time, "We often miss opportunities because it's dressed in overalls and looks like work." Again, we often miss opportunities because it's dressed in overalls and looks like work. How many times haven't people that you know have fallen into poor health because they chose not to do the stuff on the front end, that is to take care of themselves, their health, eat right, exercise, take their meds, all that stuff, and then they put stuff off for an indefinite period of time, and now they're maybe obese, they have major health issues because that apathetic attitude has taken over their lives, and they don't really understand that as they put off doing what they need to do, things around them fall apart, as you see here. The only reason why this place is not doing very well is because people chose not to maintain it. And isn't your body, isn't your mind, isn't your life more important than a building? I would hope so. Tim Fargo said one time, "Who you are tomorrow begins with what you do today." Again, who you are tomorrow begins with what you do today. Oftentimes, lots of people I've met over the years, they think that they can't achieve a certain status in life because it's too late. They're in their 30s, 40s, 50s, 60s, 70s. They think it's too late. Well, if you still think it's too late, now you've been saying this for 30 years, what could you have done in that 30-year time frame if you would have taken the opportunity, set aside the apathetic attitude, and took the bull by the horns, really, and enabled yourself to force yourself to develop the habits that you need to develop, to do some things that are incredible, to do things that are extraordinary, to do things that have never been done in your family before. That means you have to overcome that, I'm going to tell you flat out, that lazy attitude that, you know what, it's not for me, or I'm not good enough, or this list of excuses that you come up with every day why you can't do certain things. I'm telling you, life is so short, it's going to be gone in a flicker if you don't get off your butt and start doing some stuff that you know that you have a passion to do, but you've come up with all these excuses why you can't do it. Joe Frazier said, the great boxer, said this, quote, "You can map out a fight plan or a life plan, but when the action starts, it may not go the way you planned, and you're down to your reflexes." That means your preparation. That's where the road work shows. If you cheated on that in the dark of the morning, well, you're going to get found out under the bright lights. Imagine if Muhammad Ali or Joe Frazier had never practiced for probably hundreds of hours, I don't know, maybe thousands of hours, in the dark, early in the morning, late at night, to prepare them for being the best of the best in the ring, in the boxing ring, with hundreds of people around them and millions of people watching them on TV. All your preparation starts when nobody's watching. It's very interesting to me. I've been a student of public speakers for a long time. And there's a lot of people who believe that these great public speakers out there are very extemporaneous, meaning that they just get up there and talk about anything and everything. But they don't see the hours and hours and hours and hours and hours of time that these people invest behind the scenes preparing for what they need to talk about in any given day. They don't have an apathetic attitude. They have a proactive attitude, and that's what gets you and I where we need to be consistently. Frederick Douglass said, "A man is worked upon by what he works on." Again, a man is worked upon by what he works on. He may carve out his circumstances, but his circumstances will carve him out as well. So I'm asking you today, as we wind down our show, this episode today, is that if you really want to accomplish anything in life, whatever that looks like, whatever it is, whatever color it is, whatever state it is, whatever country you're in, you have to push yourself past that apathetic attitude every hour of every day and force yourself to do consistently the things that you don't really necessarily want to do at that moment. Because if you do, you're going to live a life that's extraordinary, and you're going to live a life that no one else around you has ever lived because you've chosen to pay the price every day. My name's John Carver. Thanks for watching, and we'll be back real soon.